Hello and welcome back. MC1 Gamer here, bringing you, well, a little bit of an update, just an advanced notice for some of the upcoming content that I'm going to be putting out on the channel. So this is my 300th video. Doesn't really qualify. I know I did a big slam bang one for the 200th. Had a bunch of people on. We did a huge long paint-a-sode, probably about, I think it was like 4 or 5 hours long. Wanted to really do that for the 300th, but just couldn't get it scheduled, and there was already one that was being planned recently, and it didn't really coincide also with my schedule, things I had going on. So I just figured I'd put this one out as just a notice of some of the stuff that I have coming up, and a lot of it revolves around the new General's Handbook, the General's Handbook 17 for Age of Sigmar. So a lot of exciting stuff happening. There's been a lot of content that's put out, a lot of blogs, a lot of stuff on forums, just a lot of releases, some sneak peek stuff that came to fruition that I've been showing, that just countless other people have been showing, and now everybody's talking about it. People are doing list building. They're theorizing and math hammering on what the new lists are, what the new top meta lists are, and they're preparing for stuff like the upcoming Nova Open, which is happening actually this weekend. I'm unfortunately not going to be able to go to the Nova Open, because I'm getting a minor knee surgery done. Nothing serious, but it's going to put me on a commission for the Labor Day weekend and then a little bit beyond. So I'll be watching a lot of stuff, and I'll be online and maybe putting out a few videos. But I have got unlockings that I've already planned prior to that. And I've wanted to make an announcement on some of the ones that I've already got planned, two of which are tomorrow. So tomorrow, which is, I believe, the 31st, I think it's 4 o'clock Eastern. I have Tyler Mengel, who is going to be appearing on my show for the first time, and he is going to be talking about Sylvaneth lists. So he's got a bunch of lists that we're going to be looking over, just different ways to build it, and we're going to be going over strategies and tactics and how to utilize these particular lists, what his strategy is behind them, really taking consideration a lot of new rules, a lot of new battle plans, scenarios, and whatnot, and things that are upcoming with the new meta. So if you're interested in Sylvaneth, that's a good one to check out. Tomorrow night, after hours, I think we're doing it at 11 p.m. Eastern. I'm going to be having Ryan Squyres, who's going to be coming on, and he is a longtime Death player. He puts out Tactica Tuesday on Tuesdays on his channel, and we're going to be going over Soulblight. Now, I'm going to be doing a bunch of Death videos, and I actually have a Soulblight army that I'm looking to build, and a couple of different variations on it that I'm actually going to think of actually bringing to some events. But James, he's a longtime Death player, and he's going to give us a few lists for Soulblight, so we can take a look at what vampire-centric lists and Death would look like in a competitive sense. The format for these unlockings, I know I've done different formats before, but obviously things have been a bit different. I used to do a 1,000, 2,000, and 2.5K list breakdown. I'm not doing that anymore. This is very specific to 2K lists, which is the norm and has become the norm. It was the norm previously, but I wanted to give people a spectrum because there's a lot, people play different types of games. They take different size games, and there's, 2.5Ks, nice big army list. 1K is very common for people who are just building armies or maybe just want to put together something small on the table. But since this is really an analysis on competitive type lists, and how to list build with synergy and with and looking at what else you're going to be dealing with in the meta, I really felt that this was a good format to stick to and give a variety of lists. So the format for unlockings going forward is I'm lining up a number of different lists, a number of different focuses with different guests going forward within the next couple of weeks. I'm already setting them up, and I've sent out feelers to a bunch of people already to see if they're interested. So if you've been on my show in the past, you got a list that you want to put out, shoot me over a message. You want to talk about that list or something about this. This is the format. It's going to be 2K only, but we're going to have 3 lists that we're going to talk about. One is going to be a list, and it's all focusing around the sub-faction. So no need really to talk about just a grand alliance, but it could be included in some of this, because the first list that we're going to go over is a non-aligned list, focusing around a sub-faction, but just hitting on that sub-faction. We can include some Grand Alliance shows if people are interested in that. And there's certainly some lists that are very effective and I think very competitive, very top tier competitive in some cases with the Grand Alliance because of the ability to pick and choose different things and fill in holes where there isn't an ally situation, because there's only specific keyword allies for each of the sub-factions that you can bring in. But there are some circumstances where you can't, so you would need to go to the Grand Alliance. And of course, that flexibility does have some limitations, but the Grand Alliance allegiances are still very good and still have great options. There have been some changes with the GHB 17, which I'm sure you've heard about, read about, but if you haven't, we'll be talking about that stuff. But I wanted to drill down to some of these sub-factions because of the flexibility and the endless, really just so many more options now for list building. This is such a great time to be on board and really kind of just explore where the meta is going. We're all kind of just hacking out of the wilderness now because of what's opened up with allies and with a lot of the new rules for the GHB 17. We haven't even seen any new battle tomes, obviously, since this book came out basically a week ago. But let's hope and see. Maybe there's some reveals that are coming up during the Nova Open from GW. Could be a really good time. So getting back to this format, it's going to be a 2K. The first one is going to be just a non-aligned, no allies, just building out a really high-level shit-kicker type list with synergies and tactics and whatever the artifacts are. And then we're going to go look at 2 other lists, which is doesn't have to be duplicates of the first list or any, it could be completely different themes between these 2. And these are going to be focusing around a sub-faction with 20%, up to 20% allies. So, and they can be different allies, ideally different allies. So we can give different feel, different themes, and maybe even addressing different problems with some of these lists, but dealing with, whatever holes there might be. It could be a situation where you have a dwarf list that doesn't have a lot of casting and needs some help, or maybe, doesn't have a lot of protections versus mortal wounds and maybe wants to bring in Fire Slayer allies. Or it could be a variety of things. It could be an elite Soulblight list that has very few elite units, a very few model count, but needs the volume of skeletons and zombies or whatnot. How do you address certain things in a ghoul list where they don't have a lot of rend? They have a lot of other things that are working out. They don't have a lot of shooting. Who knows what you might bring in with these allies to try to make up for some of the deficiencies. So that's just an example. There's endless amounts of them. Every army has some kind of a hole that they need to plug. So the allies is one of the ways to go. So it gives a nice spectrum. That's going to be the format for most of these, and we'll break from that occasionally. Again, if there's a really good Grand Alliance list or series of lists that we have somebody that wants to come on board and look over. That's really the main, the crux of what's going to be happening. I've got 2 of them lined up tomorrow. We'll see about what the schedule is going to be next week. Obviously, stay tuned and look out for that. If there's lists or a sub-faction that you want to focus on that you really are interested in, feel free to shoot me a message. There's quite a few that I'm looking at. Obviously, some updates with Beast Claw are going to be high up on the list. There's going to be some with dwarves, Duardin, Dispossessed, as well. I'm looking to just take a look at some of the things like what does some of the changes for Quadrant Overlords going to mean. There's a whole wealth of unlockings I did over the past 2 years since AOS first started. A lot of them were tactic strategies and just looking to explore how this game works, how to learn from this game so that we could dispel a lot of the preconceived notions, the rumors and the fallacies that a lot of people were attributing to it when it first launched. Then when the first General's Handbook came out, there's a whole array of new strategies, as well as all the variety of new battle tomes that were brought out with new ways to build armies, and the like, new rules. But now with the GHB 17, I think that we're really in a whole new meta, and we're at the very early stages. People are just scrambling around looking for what's really going to be the top tier stuff, what's going to be the real the rough stuff that you're going to be seeing at top tables at the events upcoming. And even though a lot of us are crunching these numbers and talking about it and discussing it on Twitter and Facebook and blogs and the TGA community, various different podcasts, there's what, we don't really know until the dice hit the table. So we're going to be keeping really the ear to the ground to see what kind of results are out there. There's been a lot of changes, obviously, because of how Compendium's been changed. That's going to change the meta as well. So this is a really interesting time. A lot of the upcoming events over the course of the next 6 months to a year is really going to define what that meta is going to look like, and then it's going to probably be rebalanced again when the next GHB comes out, because we might be seeing that around every year, which is a good thing because that keeps things fresh. So there's that. I do have some recent events that I've taken pictures of games I've played, and if you're interested in seeing them, let me know. But they don't reflect the new General's Handbook, so they might be a little dated. There was recently, several weeks ago, I had one, for instance, with a 5-game regional tournament that I took. I took top place, which was kind of a goof because I didn't really bring a list that I thought was going to function and be successful. I thought that it was going to fail in the scenarios, but really, smash face, because it was a hard fighty list. But I didn't think it was going to do really well, and it turned out one of the reasons why it probably did well is because there were a lot of absent armies that weren't just on the table. There were some that were there that could counter it with abundances of mortal wounds and volumes of range stuff, but there were a lot of lists that just weren't there. There weren't a lot of the mortal wounds, Skaven lists. There was a few Beast Claw lists. But I know Beast Claw really well because I have Beast Claw and I played it a lot. So I was able to counter that and deal with it, and I didn't even meet one of the really rough ones, although I played that guy once before, and we really had a tooth and nail right down to the line, and I fortunately had a victory against him with this list. But that could be give or take, and that was with a much better list than what I brought. So really just I did well, but if any people want to see that, if they want to see the videos on that, it revolves around a Nagash Neferata list. I don't know if that list is going to do well in the new meta. I didn't think it would do well in this one. Actually, it shouldn't have done well. If there was a Tzeentch list, would have tore right through it. And there's a variety of other lists I think that that would have done very well. But if you want to see those videos, let me know, and I'll cut them up and do some voiceovers and put them out there. If nobody cares because they're a little dated, they really won't really apply in the new meta, I won't do it. So it's just a matter of what you're interested in seeing. I'm going to have time over the next week or so as I recover from this minor knee surgery, and I could put some of these together with voiceover. It doesn't require a lot of running around or heavy lifting. In any case, again, if there's content that you guys are looking for, let me know. I'm actually going to be doing some content that revolves around other games too. I've been getting into role-playing games, specifically Dungeons and Dragons. I've been running a campaign, and if you're interested in seeing stuff about that and content revolving around that, I think I might branch off. I've done this before. I branched off into Bolt Action, Frostgrave. Excuse me. I've moved into other games and had plans to move into other games before, as well as doing things like product reviews that cover, various different games, things like tokens, playmats, and the like. So if you're interested in seeing stuff like that, let me know. I mean, if there's not a lot of response, then I won't do it. But if there is, and people want to see some more of that content, I could put out some more content revolving around that. I'm not sure if I'll actually do any televised games because I don't have that situation set up. I don't know if I want to do any online stuff, but just if there's I have some ideas on how to do stuff that may be a little bit different than what's already out there, whether it's just tracking a particular campaign with ideas on that, or doing stuff a little bit of twist versus that we've seen from others that have been out there, like the Neurarchies and Web DMs, just trying to switch up and change what we've seen before. But we'll see. If you're interested, message me, let me know, and we'll do it. I'll be back on again tomorrow, just once again at 4 o'clock Eastern, and then 11 o'clock p.m. Eastern for the two first unlockings. And I hope you tune in, and have a great day, everybody.